What's up? Welcome to another episode of Hacking with SuperTokens. Last time we did a SuperTokens integration with SolidJS and did an email password combo, like making sure that we can log in, we can sign up, we can see an authenticated route. This time we'll continue along the same path, but we're going to integrate some social media OIDC. Stay tuned. As with every previous episode, the first thing we're doing is setting some goals. We only have a single goal for today, which is OIDC. This is short for OpenID Connect. That's it. What is OpenID Connect exactly? Well, long story short, it's those like social media login buttons you see on screen. That's that, like nothing magical about it. So what we are going to do today to expand a bit on this is create some buttons. Some buttons for social media login, make them work. Packed, right? Well, might seem like a little, but trust me, it's going to get a bit involved. Now, to get this thing started, first off, let's have a look at the server. Now, we just mostly copy-pasted this entire thing, and the keys you're seeing here are just the test keys you can also find in our documentation over here. If you go over in our docs at SuperTokens and have a look at documentation, choose like either of these, anyone can work. And if you go, I think that it's the same for regardless of whether you choose a custom UI or using your own UI. I mean, we are doing custom UI, so like probably it's better to do it here. It's essentially this, like you can copy paste your way down to a working authentication server, and the keys you get, like these here, are essentially the same thing we have over here, lines 32 down to line 7. And as the disclaimer here says, we have provided you with development keys which you can use for testing. And important, please replace them with your own auth keys for production use. I mean, sure, this is considered dirty, but it works for testing purposes, and like get your own for your own like production setup. So what we are set out to do according to our configuration here, we have Google, we have GitHub, and we have Apple. I'm not sure, should we do Apple? Okay, let's do Apple, whatever. Let's do a quick recap about what our application actually did and how it looks like. Now, we have this screen over here, which translates to, let's find it where it was, over here. We're using Solid Router, of course, and we have two routes. One of them is path /, the other one is path equals dashboard. And they both map to auth and dashboard. Now, auth is just this screen where we return a div. We have a bunch of signals in place for handling the input and some events for handling the buttons click. The button clicks map to handle sign up clicked and to handle sign in clicked, which in turn map to these methods over here, which are sign up clicked and okay, this shouldn't be here. Security. And basically it's an email, we pass it an email, a password, and we can pass it a navigate function. The reason why we're passing it a navigate function is because we want to hook into the Solid Router so that we don't do a full page reload via something like window.href mutation, stuff like that. Now, the dashboard is pretty similar too. The only thing that it does is get session info, which is bound to this button over here. And it can also do a sign out, which is bound to this button down here. Now, one thing it also does is it checks whether a session exists, which is essentially whether the user has already logged in or not. And if they aren't logged in, like this application simply navigates back to auth. Next, what we want to do here is let's follow the docs, I guess. Let's just start with that. So we have this part handled. We have a login server on the backend. Let me just do a quick check whether we need to do something more here or not. Yeah, we have the providers initialized, so that should be fine. Keys, test keys, we have those, that's fine. We have an origin set. We have that error handler in place. So if you want to find out some more details about that, check out the previous episodes. And let's move on. Like, we have the core handled. We're using the demo core, a managed demo core. We're not going to do anything about that. We are going into social login. All right, so let's see. So it says there are different flows that the third-party login provider may support via authorization code for web and mobile apps, or B, if you have not provided the client secret on the backend. PKC flow, all right, by auth, access tokens for mobile apps. But yeah, those are like, we can skip this actually. And what we really need to do is this part over here, basically a handler for our Google sign-in button. So let's start with Google, I guess. The first thing that we would need to do is add a button. So our button would be something like this: sign in with Google, because like when you're signing in with auth providers, signing in and signing up basically amounts to the same thing, like from their perspective at least. And handle, our function would be called const handle Google sign in clicked. Let's do that. And what we need from the docs is, we'll be copy pasting this thing again, of course. We are going to copy paste this entire thing, but we are going to change its signature slightly so that we can also pass it a navigate function in case we need one. So SuperTokens WebJS recipe third party, yes, this is fine, but let's move it a bit up so that it's sort of tidier, I guess. And then like window location assign, we want to redirect. No, we want to do the navigate thing, I guess. And we can do the same thing we're doing here. Basically, we can copy this signature because it's going to be the same thing. And yes, it's not used, but we can do a navigate here to that authentication URL, which would be a string, and we're expecting a string, so that's fine. And our website would be, it says this is where Google should redirect the user back after the login or error. This URL goes on the Google's dashboard as well, meaning that if this is our website domain, this would end up being like localhost 3001, I imagine. Yeah, because this is a front-end redirect URI, so that should, in theory, work. Let's see whether it actually works or not. So we want to go back here. Okay, we have an error. All right, we're not really passing it anything. Lovely. Okay, so we said like handle Google sign-in clicked, and the only thing we need to do here is call this thing Google sign-in clicked. Let's rev that up. We can't test this just yet. And we pass navigate done to it, and we can call that function here, and that in theory should work. So right, we have a sign in with Google button. So let's find out whether that works or not. If we click like, okay, something went wrong. What did go wrong? It says a 401 unauthorized. Why is it unauthorized? Okay, let's find out why it's unauthorized. So the server terminal isn't telling us anything really. So let's see. Let's check out the server code. So it says localhost 3000. This should in turn its website domain. Oh, right, hold up. I did something. Yeah. It's 3000, not 301. So yeah, that's what I did wrong. Like what I did here, yeah, that's why kids use config. Don't do what I'm doing currently. So like, yeah, this is just, you know, a demo, whatever, but like it's an obvious example of like how you can sort of screw up. So let's see. Does it work? It doesn't. Why doesn't it work? Does it give us some kind of an error or not? It's just failing. Why does it fail? Let's see what happens here. It says like request URI, and it's returning a what? Okay. Oh, right. let me try something. Maybe we shouldn't have done the navigate thing over here. Let's see whether that changes anything, because that is actually supposed to be a full page redirect, and I'm not sure whether this is going to work fine with solid router or not. Let's see. Alright, so that was the thing. So let's see. If we do this, we should... right, this is what we're missing. So the authentication is sort of working, but we have no way of handling the response. So next up, handle the response. Let's see how we can do that. Does our documentation have anything related to that? Of course we do. Like, we're professional like that. And we have this sign in and up. Yes. Okay. Why do we need that? Let's find out. And it says like handle Google callback. Okay, let's read a bit here. This is... okay, we are awaiting on it. Sure. If the response is okay, do something. If it's not, do something else. And then window location assign home. So okay, this is the signed in route, and then this is what we're doing in case it goes wrong. So sure, like let's go and copy and paste the entirety of this thing over here. And we should probably put this in auth. Sure, let's start with that, see where that leads us. Okay, and we have like recipe third party. I think we already have that import, and we can just, you know, pass that over here. That should already be fine. And like handle Google callback should get a navigate thing probably. That's... no, but I'm doing something absolutely wrong. This shouldn't be going here. This should be going to the new route. Yes. And Google sign-in clicked should be fine. We are removing navigate because this is a full page reload, and using window here is fine. We are not going to pass navigate over here because it's not going to need it, and we need to do this. Handle this route. Auth Google callback. Okay, let's have a look at solid router and how does it handle wildcard routes. Let's find that out in dynamic nested hash routes, memory, yada yada. Slash. Alright, so it apparently it can do wildcards. So let's try that, I guess. So the route was auth callback Google because we set it to that, of course, and that's over here. Right, auth callback Google. So we need to define that route somewhere, and that somewhere is going to be here. So route path equals auth Google. Or you know what, should I do wildcards here or not? Because let's just start with a regular one, and we'll see where that takes us. And then we'll do a different component there. Component, something else. No, not that. And should we do something fancy here or not? Let me think. This basically amounts to just handling an effect, or like parsing the response, I guess, and then doing a redirect to dashboard. So like maybe back to auth should be fine. So yes, scratch what I said before. This should again be auth, but we'll just copy and paste the same thing we already did once, and then I removed it, but then I realized that auth is like probably the proper place to do this anyway. Yay me. So anyway, like handle Google callback, and it says await sign-in and up, and alright, we probably have this, but we need the navigate thing over here again, which has this signature over here so that we can navigate via the client side and just change the screen. And we are not going to assign, we are going to do a navigate to dashboard. Yes, we want to navigate to dashboard, and if something went wrong, we want to navigate to auth. Yeah, this looks okay, but let's find out where we should call this. The handle Google callback thing. And on success, let's see. So it says set up a route on your web app that will handle this callback. We recommend something like, alright, for Google, regardless of what you make this path, remember to use the same path when calling the get authorization URL with query params and state function in the first step. Oh, right. So essentially, right. This should be the same route. That's cool. On that route, call the following function on page load. So, alright, basically that means on mount, I imagine, when in SolidLand. Let's check. So SolidJS life cycle methods. Nah, come on. SolidJS, yes, there we go. Not ecosystems, not tutorial, documentation. And we need like core. Core is fine. Learn, no, we need the reference. Create effect, create memo. Lazy use context, no, we don't need that. This is lifecycle. On mount. Registers a method that runs after the initial rendering is done and the elements are mounted to the page. Ideal for using refs and managing other one-time setups. Let's try this, I guess. So let's do an on mount. And we can probably so sign in, click no, we don't want it here. We want it in the component. So we have it initialized, and let's say on mount. Yes, we want that on mount from SolidJS. And then we do this, and then we say like all right, yeah, like if the path name says window location handle, yeah, like go GPT, not GPT, go Copilot, right? Okay, thanks. So let's see whether that actually works if we hit reload. Kinda doesn't, but let's try that thing again. Let's ditch this thing in full. A localhost. Okay, so like we're not signed up. Let's do a sign in. It should go through that entire dance. Allow me to sign in. And it's doing nothing. Why is it doing nothing? So console is empty. Did we maybe screw up the route? No, it's like auth Google callback, and over here it's auth Google call. Oh my god, auth callback Google. Okay. What have I done here? I'm still on one coffee, like it's a slow day. It's auth callback Google. So alright, this should in theory make it work. Okay, let's see whether it does. Something went wrong. Surprising, I know. Okay, sign in. Let's do the entire dance once more. And something, and we're signed up. Haha, amazing. Yes, we have a session handle, we have everything we need. So cool, we have Google working. So sign out, that should work fine. Regular sign up. We have an account created, so like a test account, of course. Sign in. That works. Lovely. I can sign out. Cool. Let's try Google again. Alright, so we have that. Maybe we should do a spinner here to make it like seem like we are doing something, like instead of like make this weird experience. Sure, let's do a spinner. Or like a spinner. This is just going to be some kind of a pop-up, I suppose, and for that we will need a signal. Sure, let's do a signal, like SuperTokens in it. Let's put a signal up here. Let's say like show auth and set your auth, like screen loading. Sure, let's do loading. loading, and that's false. All right, so if we, so what happens is we should show this by default. No, this should be true in fact, but let's think for a second what actually happens here. Now if we do, let's sign out. If we're at this screen and if we're here via the route, via the regular route, which would be this one, the slash route, that means we don't need to show it, so it should be false. Otherwise it should be true if we're coming from any other place. So that essentially means like probably this, and I hope like I'm not doing something dirty and nobody will scold me for what I'm doing. So if location, yeah, and this, then it's set to true. And if it's not that, it's going to be initialized to false, because we are doing a full reload after all. Sure, let's find out, let's see what happens. Let's first see whether our existing path continues to work. Full reload, just for the sakes of superstition. And password 123. It's not that one, but whatever. Sign in. That works fine. Sign out. That also works fine. So let's see. In theory, like this signal should be triggered to true. Should be set to true if we're coming from a different, from this route instead. Okay, so what we can do here is, let's say show when, yes, loading. Yes, of course we need to import that, and otherwise we are going to show, or rather like we can do this, and we can show when not loading. We can show the entire form instead, and should work fine. Let's see, our existing path is fine. Let's see, sign in with Google. Let's see what happens then. We're going to do this and that. Yes, loading screen. Yes, amazing. This is what we wanted. Now for a small, I suppose, like UX improvement, we can just tell them what we're doing. Logging in via third party, please wait. Which is a bit nicer than just showing loading, I guess. So like, let's see that in action. Sign in with Google. Yep, we have that. Sure, let's. All right, and ta-da, we have a session. So Google done. Okay, what are we going to do next? Let's try GitHub, because GitHub is, we already have it set up via a key in, not here, in the server. Where was the server? Here we are. Yeah, we have GitHub set. So you know, like, let's do GitHub. So imagine that this thing is going to end up being pretty similar. We should add a route, and that should be it. So we have a handle Google callback. How do we do a GitHub callback? So let's see what we have in these imports over here. Recipe third party. Okay, so let's maybe check the docs then. Let's see. All right, special case for login with Apple. We'll handle Apple later. With params. Right, third party ID Google. Yes. Okay, we need to do this thing. Right. Okay, that sort of makes sense, I guess. So instead of like, we can copy and paste this thing, and like we're doing a lot of that, or rather not that, but this one, Google sign-in clicked. We should create a GitHub sign-in clicked. GitHub sign-in clicked, and like third-party ID GitHub. Alright, we're using the same redirect URI, and in the server we had the ID as GitHub. Sure, that's going to map to that one. And what we have left over here is adding a button, adding a handler. I mean, we don't strictly need these handlers, but I'm not sure I keep them for the sake of consistency, I suppose. So GitHub sign-in clicked. We're going to stick with that for the time being, I guess, and then we can refactor and do something fancier or cleaner or whatever. Sign in with GitHub here, and we want to call this method. Okay. Oh, we're never setting this. Well, we don't actually need to set it, so I suppose it's a flag, it's a signal that gets initially. Does this even need to be a signal? Because it never really mutates, because we're doing like a reload, and if we ever do a sign out, okay, yeah, I'm just going to leave it like this and maybe handle it later, doesn't matter. So sign in with GitHub, and this should in theory work. Let's see whether it does. So sign in with GitHub. Alright, it did something. Or, oh, hold up. Yeah. Callback GitHub. I have to do this, and oh no, sorry, that was the wrong one. Should be this one instead. GitHub. And that should take us to that screen, or did I already do a demo with this? I don't exactly remember, but let's see. If just navigate to dashboard, if it's okay, navigate to dashboard, sure, okay, and then in the index we should probably do the same thing, but instead of Google, do GitHub, but reroute to that same component. But let's just, this should be handle GitHub callback instead of just Google. This is interesting. Now, maybe we can get away with using a general method. Alright, handle Google callback, and if window right, we need a new handler as well. Callback GitHub, or I'm not sure whether we strictly need it, but let's do it anyway. GitHub callback. Of course, we don't have that method in place, but we can copy paste our way. So handle Google callback, Google sign-in clicked, and let's put that one over here. Handle GitHub callback, GitHub callback. Okay, and navigate dashboard. This should be okay if we wanna like sign in or sign up. You know what? Let's just log a bit so that we're sure that this thing actually works. Console log. Sign in successful, and this should be console log sign up successful. Yes, this is via GitHub, this is via GitHub as well, and we can do those same things for Google so that we know that we actually did what we were supposed to do, or rather the code did what it was supposed to do. This is Google, and once again let's copy this thing and paste it here and go with sign in successful, because like the way SuperTokens differentiates these two is whether this not it was described in the docs, like right. Redirecting, step 1, handling the auth callback on your front end, special case for login with Apple, SSO, like where was that, handling session tokens, like sign in, well, yeah, this was it. The same flow applies during sign up and sign in. If the user is signing up, the created new user boolean on the front end and back end will be true as the result of the sign in up API call, right? It's this function over here. Yes. So actually it's the same thing, but the way that SuperTokens allows us to differentiate between the two in case we need to do something more is via this boolean over here. And yeah, we are handling that. So let's see whether this works. So it says like unexpected token is expected. Okay, I probably did a syntax error somewhere. Of course I did. There we go. And now it should be fine. It's fine. Okay, now let's open the console over here and try GitHub. Let's see what happens. Then it should be back, but it logged quite. Oh yeah, here we are. Sign in successful via GitHub, and we have everything. Yes, the email is correct, the ID is correct. Cool. Let's do a sign out, and let's clear this thing up. Let's sign in with Google, and let's choose the account. That's fine. Go back, and then it should log. Yes, sign in successful via Google. So both work, I think. So the session is shown. Like, let's do a sign out, and the final thing we can do today is Apple. Now I don't have an Apple account to test this with, but we'll try it anyway. I might sign up for an Apple account. I don't know. We'll see where this takes us. So the final thing over here is like we need a special case for login with Apple. Let's see what exactly do we need for Apple. So we have handler for Apple Sign-In clicked, and get authorization URL with query params. Okay, and then like we have a front-end redirect URI, and this URL goes on Apple's dashboard. Sure, and in our case that should also probably be the same. I don't know, let's find out. Now we have that same method. We need this to be async. We can copy this and paste it over here, and let's go handle Google callback, Google sign-in clicked, handle GitHub callback, GitHub sign-in clicked. Let's put Apple over here, Apple sign-in clicked. Okay, so we need this to redirect to Apple, and when we sign in we need it back. So let's do this. And like for a handler, let's first do a button and a handler. So const handle Apple sign-in clicked. Sure, and in there we are going to call Apple sign-in clicked. Okay, does it matter if it's async or not, whether we need an await over there? I don't think we do. It's async because it awaits for this thing down here, but it is going to redirect, so I don't think it matters. We'll see. We'll find out later. It says handle Apple sign-in clicked and sign in with Apple. Okay, and that should be enough. And we need a route. So we are going to render the same component, but based on the URI we have on mount, we are going to do something different. Or actually, let's do this. Based on the URI up here, let's change the initial value of the signal so that we have some information about where the user is trying to sign in from. That should amount to, a better user experience, I suppose. So let's see. This is so if we're going to do something exceptionally stupid here, so if window location, let's see if this works. This might in fact be the dumbest thing I pulled off so far, but sure. I mean, this is for experimentation purpose, and for the purpose of experimentation and for doing weird stuff on a video. So let's do this. If window location path name equals Google, return Google, then yes and no. If the URI is Apple, return, or let's make these nicer looking, GitHub, and the final one would be Apple. Okay, and if otherwise, return false. Now this is a horrible type. It's fine though, doesn't matter. We're not putting this in production. This is just for educational purposes. So we are logging via show. Oh my god, even the naming is wrong, but like, who cares? Please wait. Before we go ahead and try Apple out, let's see whether this works. So let's go sign in with Google, and then like when it comes back, yes, it should say sign logging in via Google. Amazing. Okay, now this already makes for a somewhat nicer experience. Now let's do. No, we have an Apple callback, but we don't have the handler for that. We still need a handler. So handle Google callback, and do we have something special that we need to do for that? No, provider input for both web and mobile apps. No, we don't care about that one. So probably we don't need anything special there. We can just copy paste our existing handlers. And yes, okay. This was here. This should be put here, and handle Apple callback. Let's do the entire dense Apple. Sure. We navigate back to dashboard. Yes, if there is an error, we are going to alert it, whatever. And we are going to navigate back to auth. That should be fine, I suppose. Let's see what this does for us in terms of like whether it's going to handle the Apple thing. So sign in with Apple. Okay, something happens. All right, we have an Apple ID. Do I have an Apple ID? Let me quickly check on my phone. Do I have an Apple ID or not? I have no idea. I'm not an Apple person, so you know. I used to have it was an OS X machine for the purpose of building something, but like, yeah, that was a while ago, and I don't exactly remember any of that. So let's see. Do I have an Apple thing? Apple. Where are you? Does this thing have a search or not? Probably not. For context, I'm looking at my Bitwarden, and like I'm trying to find out whether I have an Apple account or not. And this thing apparently doesn't have a search, which isn't too user-friendly, to be honest. But yeah, it does have a search, but it's like in a weird screen. Apple, let's see. Oh, I do have an Apple ID. Interesting. Okay, sure. Why not? Let's try that. There we go. Okay. Is it gonna work? Will it? Will it not? Oh, come on. Really? Let's see. What's... a message with a verification code. Let's see if I get that verification code or not. So now we play the waiting game. And I don't seem to be getting one. Come on, Apple. Yeah, this doesn't seem like it's gonna happen, but like, if this wraps up properly, we are going to be... okay, I'm not gonna get like... yeah, send me an SMS. Let's do that. Yes. All right. And yes, the message thing worked. So that's like 406 969. All right, let's see whether that thing works. Trust the browser. Yes, trust this browser. It's my browser. Like, come on, man. Continue. Yes, share my email. Continue. Okay, so that got stuck for some reason. Interesting. So auth callback apples. Why is it stuck? It's supposed to be logging something, but it's logging nothing, and it's alerting nothing, and I have like... Alright. Of course I forgot something. I'm not handling it. Yeah. Okay, so Apple, and then like we want to handle Apple callback. Of course, Apple callback. Alright, and then I'm going to reload this, and then it should not work. Of course it doesn't, because I did something weird. Let's try that again. Sign in with Apple. Then it should redirect us back. Come on, really? Come on, Apple. Yes, that's it. Yes. Is this gonna work? Woohoo! We have login with Apple. And like, to be honest, this is literally my first time doing this, so like, kudos me, I guess. So what we have here is like a fully working SuperTokens integration with SolidJS. We have the email password login, which we already saw that it worked. We can sign up via email password, we can sign in via Google, we can sign in via GitHub, and we can sign in with Apple. And that means that we probably did our stuff for today. Like, all of our goals have been met. We have the OIDC thing, we created some buttons, we made them work. Thank you for joining. Make sure to like and subscribe, and see you next time on Hacking with SuperTokens.